Okay, yes, we're recording. Welcome. Welcome to week 3. I actually can't believe we're at week 3 already. Probably 2.5 actually, because we started midway through a week. But I love the interaction we had in the group over the weekend, because I asked you all, who'd been putting these habits in place and showing up for yourselves. And, everybody who replied, and there was a lot of you, I think around 30 odd people, said, yeah, you've been showing up for yourself in the morning, putting these habits into place. So, I just want to start by saying congratulations. The idea here is, we spend 6 weeks installing these habits, building the muscles. And then from that point on, you've got a really great chance of, understanding how good it feels when you show up for yourself first, understanding how good it feels to be starting the day focused, productive, setting clear intentions. And when you've got a view of how that feels, chances are you're going to stick at it for a longer period of time as well. So I want to do a bit of a recap. Today is powerful. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a control mechanism that sits inside of everybody's mind that most people don't really know exists. But I'm excited to share it, because when you realize that there is a control mechanism, and that's the only thing keeping you from where you are and from the thing you want, and when you know that that control mechanism exists and you learn what to do about it and how to change it, everything opens up. But before we get into that, I just want to do a recap on where we are with this process. So we've said that, the people who, we look around and they're living an abundant life, a fulfilling life, the people who've decided that, they get one life, one chance, and they want to spend it with the people they want to spend it with, doing the things they want to do. They want to have the money to do the things they want. And ultimately, they're given life 110%. These successful people, we learned that they have something in common. And the thing that these people have in common is they dedicate time regularly, usually daily, to set intentions, to feed their mind, to grow and expand. They don't stop learning, they don't stop growing, they don't stop looking for new ideas and new opportunities. And the other thing they do is they focus each day on their personal development. So that meaning they are thinking about what's going on inside, and they're realizing that if they want to continue to grow and expand, that's an inside job. So what this 6 weeks is helping you do is install some of those habits. And then in addition to the habits, I'm giving you some of the personal development as well. So the habits, the rituals, plus when we show up for these live sessions and the exercises I ask you to do through the group, that's a way for you to start to actually expand your own inner world, because basically whatever's going on in the inside is shown up on the outside. So that's the intro, and today we're going to get into more about beliefs. We talked about beliefs last week, and I put some homework in the group so we can get some feedback on that. And we're going to talk about something called your self-image, which you might have heard the term, but I'm going to get into what that's all about, what that means. So that's the plan. But as always, what I really want to start with is hearing from you guys, and share with us your wins, your successes, your gratitudes. Should we get some chat going and just tell us how you're getting on? I know you've all had great wins in implementing these routines. So what else is going on? We can use we can use the chat as normal. For anybody new, Vary, we tend to use the chat and we just start to type, and we put our wins and successes and things we're happy about. And a reminder, this is you training your mind to look for the good and notice the good. Annabelle, getting up early every day. Been for a run this morning, Nick. Recovering from a meltdown, catching up on where I need to be. Okay, thanks, Meg. Colin and your miracle morning. Yeah, Colin's getting into the miracle morning. Nice one, Colin. Couch to 5K. Yeah, nice one, Julie. I have a friend who did Great North Run this weekend, virtual Great North Run. I was pretty impressed. I don't think I could manage that quite. Loving your daily swim, Lizzie. Walking every day, the early mornings. Brilliant. So the wins are all relating to you guys, showing up for yourself, doing the things that you want to do. And I'd imagine, I mean, it's not a stretch to imagine that that feels great, right? I'm sure it feels amazing. Joe, getting up at 7, spending the first hour walking. Oh, I love a forest walk. David, writing a business proposal for Amazon, of all companies. Nice, David. That's interesting. Hi, first live session, Lisa. Glad you've been keeping up. I know sometimes the times can't work for everybody. Meditation, nice. Thank you for those. Thank you for those. I've had some really great wins actually. We've been looking at the outside of our house for probably 5 years and not doing much with it, but we started to just make some progress. So I painted a fence this weekend and I'm going to claim that as a win because I'm a terrible DIYer and I hate it and it takes me forever. But I did. So we've got a nice garden fence. Okay, loving the wins and loving the energy from all of you showing up for yourself. And it's I keep saying showing up for yourself because it's so important that we do. It's so important that we do because, you know, when I've been to the gym and I walk in and the kids are waiting for me, I'm just ready for them. I'm ready for them. I've set my mind, I've set my intention, I've decided who I want to be, and I've decided what the day is going to be like, and then I have a great day. Now then, let us get into, we're still in the chat, but it's a slightly different focus, right? So I said at the start, you guys are here, I'm assuming, because you want something to change or improve. And ideally you've got a goal and you know what you want to change. But there will be some things called beliefs and ideas about who you think you are, what you think's possible. And in relation to your goal, you know, that might feel like a challenge or a stretch away, or the thing you want to change, you might not be able to see a way to that yet. And dare I say it, even if you know what your goal is, you might even be limiting your thinking in terms of what you want, because most of us, when we think about the things that we want in life, we tend to decide that what that is based on our own filtered way of seeing the world. And I'm going to get into that and expand what I mean, but let us start with your setting. It's kind of like your set point, because if we're going on a journey, you need to know where you're starting from, right? So you might say, I've got this goal and this is the thing I want, and it's a big jump up from where I am right now. Okay, that's good. You've got the desire, you've got the destination, you know where you want to go, but we need to know where we're starting from, right? If you're programming a sat nav, that sat nav needs to know where it's starting from so that it can program the route. So I'm going to do a couple of exercises with you, and get a pen and paper for this. And I just want you to kind of relax. You know those quick fire rounds where, you know, you ask a question over and over, you ask a question and you have to write down the first thing that comes into your mind. So I'm going to do 2 separate exercises. The first one is for you to try and understand where your setting is in relation to kind of the different categories of your life, right? So get a pen, just relax. And when I say the word I'm going to say, I want you to write down the first thing that comes into your mind. Don't think about it. I'm going to go pretty quickly. Just write it down. Okay, we ready? Money. Health. Family. Career. Weight. Fitness. emotions, relationships, love, well-being. Okay. Now, feel free to share any of those. I'm always curious, what people actually write down, but, share in the group or don't share. It's up to you. But what you'll have written down there, it depends on where your mind, it'll give you a clue as to where your mind's at, right? So if you're focused on money and you have a goal around money, you might have wrote down the goal because that's where your focus has been. You might have wrote down something like your perspective of where you are financially today. You might have wrote down not enough, but it does give you a clue as to where the settings of your mind are in relation to each of these kind of key areas of your life. So after this session, have a look at and just kind of try and figure out, what did I write down and why do I think I wrote that down? Because it's a representation of your dominant thoughts or your dominant focus around these areas. Now, it's only a starting point. It's just to give you an idea of your thinking and where you currently are. Now, you can do that exercise again in relation to what do you want? So you can go through each of those areas and say, money, what do I want? Career, what do I want? Family, what do I want? Health, fitness, weight, emotions, well-being. And sometimes I do that like on a scale of 1 to 10. Usually you say, well, I want 10 across the board. Why wouldn't you? It's your life. Why not have a 10? So that's a starting point, and it's going to make a lot of sense as we get into some of the ideas I'm going to share with you today. The second exercise I want to do with you, and this is similar, but I want you to think of a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being highest, 1 being the lowest. And you're just going to write down a number when I say these words. Where do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the lowest? Ready? Confidence. Self-worth. To what extent you feel at ease. Your level of joy. Your level of happiness. How calm you feel. So just do an exercise like that, similar to the other one, but really drilling down into how you're feeling, what's your state predominantly, like what's your emotional state in some of these areas, how confident am I? Again, giving you an idea. It doesn't mean that's where you are, that's where you're set and you're fixed there, just gives you an idea of where you are right now. And again, where do you want to be? I mean, I don't do the want to be exercise because I'm assuming that on a scale of 1 to 10, if I say how confident you want to be, I'd certainly be going for 10. I probably wouldn't be going for 5. I'd like to be 10. If I want to feel joy, I'll go for a 10. I'm not going to go for an 8. So I'm assuming that wherever you are, where you want to be is close to a 10. If you're already a 10, amazing. It starts to hone in kind of where the areas of your life that you really want to be stretching for a better result, a better outcome. Because when it comes, and essentially what we've kind of looked at there, right, is it's linked to your beliefs. So we've talked about this idea of we have a multitude of ideas, beliefs, truths about everything. We were programmed with a bunch of ideas as kids, and then as we've grown, we've adopted them as well and accepted, we can call them truths, beliefs, the paradigm that you operate within. And let me just give you an example of what happened to me to kind of bring this to life for you, right? So I often think of, remember we showed the mind last week, and we showed two parts to the mind, the conscious part and the subconscious part. And these ideas about who we are and who we're not, they're just ideas, remember, just opinions that we've been buying into for many years. And basically, when you believe something, you automatically start finding things that match the belief, and then you automatically kind of put those clothes on and walk around in them. And I like to think about those ideas, those beliefs that were programmed, kind of like marbles, like a jar of marbles, right? So each one of them represents an idea about like who you are, how the world works, the labels you've got for yourself. So let me just tell you what went on for me. And I made some notes because I didn't want to forget. So before I got access to this kind of information and started studying this system, which I studied for 6 months, I now study it for life because that's what I do. These were some of my beliefs. Remember, at that time, I was a vice president of transformation at American Express Global Business Travel. And these were my beliefs at that time. I had a multitude, but these were the ones I'm dominant. I'm somebody of average intelligence. I'm not super intelligent, so I really have to work harder than most people if I'm going to sustain this level of success as a vice president. On some level, I don't really feel worthy of a vice president's title, bit of imposter syndrome going on. That the role I was in required lots of compromise, long hours, and that's just a truth I operated with. It requires long hours and family compromise. That my job was all consuming, that I'd do this for the rest of my life, but I didn't want to be doing it beyond the age of 50, 55. That I didn't want to do anything else. Remember, these are my beliefs that I was kind of buying into at the time, holding on as absolute factual truths about me. That my happiness level of 4 out of 10 at that time was really just my setting. It's just who I was. I never really could expect anything more. That was normal for me. So what was going on there? At the time, I didn't question any of that, right? There were just things that I moved through my days accepting as normal, accepting as my truth. I didn't challenge them. I didn't question them until I started to see some health issues, right? So then when I started to kind of do this kind of work, and I got access to a coach and a structured system to take me through basically like a mental house cleaning. Let's look at those beliefs kind of one by one, maybe where they came from and how I started to change them. So if I look at the belief that I had average intelligence, where did that come from? Well, it come from a couple of exam results, right? So do you do that? Did you get an exam result and go, that must mean I'm forever bad at maths? Forever. That's it. Forever bad at maths because I got a crappy maths result. Yeah, a couple of exam results, comparing myself to some other people, despite the fact that I got a pretty decent degree. But even when I got the decent degree, I told myself I was still average intelligence. It's because I chose sociology and it with business management, and I passed because of sociology. So I had a load of justifications to hold me true to the fact that I was average intelligence. Just a belief based on some report card results, right? What else did I say? That I wasn't worthy of a vice president role. I wasn't quite good enough, despite the fact that at that point I'd been doing it very successfully for 4 years and getting really great feedback. But I still had this belief that I wasn't quite capable, wasn't quite good enough, wasn't quite ready enough. And that showed up for me as trying to be perfect, trying to work 12-hour days, thinking if I just work harder, I'll kind of get over this belief about my intelligence and my value as a vice president. Then what about the compromise? Right, I just held on to a truth that my role needed 10 hours of work every day or I couldn't do it successfully. Just a truth I held on to. It wasn't factual because I proved it later. Then what else? That I love what I do and I'll do it forever. Do you know what? I did love what I did. That was true, but there was a lot that was challenging about it. And there was something creeping up inside of me that thought, is this all I ever want to do? I've done it and I've done it well, but I think I've got more to give, and maybe I'd like to try something new. I didn't open that. My belief was, I'll do this forever. Do you know what? The reason the belief was there is because the deeper belief was, that's all I believe I can do. I'm too scared to try anything else. I'm too scared to take a risk. This is too safe. This is too secure. And on and on. The beliefs kind of stack. And then I told myself I didn't want anything else. Again, the deeper belief that you can't really have anything else was the real thing that was going on. And then my happiness, 4 out of 10. I mean, I just go, really did I go, that's all that's possible in life? Like, that's just, well, isn't that just what you expect? Well, no. Why did I accept that? It's as if that's just me. I'm not somebody who's like really excitable and meant to have joy. What was that about? So as I started to think, to really question these, when you look at them and you think, really? You start, if you do it for yourself, the homework I set in the group for you guys was to look at what are some of your beliefs in relation to different areas of your life, whichever area of your life you want to focus on, or all areas of your life. And when you look back at them, you can see why it keeps you locked in, because they're not something I'm thinking consciously, right? I'm not waking up every day thinking, this is all I'll ever do because this is all I can ever do. I'm not waking up every day thinking I'm not quite good enough as a VP. It's just something that's always there beneath the surface subconsciously. But remember, it's the subconscious part of the mind that controls our behavior and the way we feel. So that's what was showing up anyway. When I started to get conscious of them and studying this information, everything changed. I was no longer working 10, 12-hour days. I was delivering the biggest project I'd ever delivered. I was calmer and more confident than ever before. I started a nutrition course, which I was studying in the morning before work, because that was a passion I had. I started writing because that was a passion I had. And I just got, and nothing changed. Nothing on the outside changed. Zero changed on the outside. But somehow I managed to make all those changes that brought me levels of joy. The level of, you know what, like level 4 out of 10 happiness. I wrote one article and this person said it made her laugh. I was like grinning from ear to ear for about a week. I've never experienced joy like it. And it wasn't to do with any of the normal things I thought would make me happy. So when you think about your own beliefs, this is where it's super important to understand them. But doesn't it make you smile and laugh that you think, if I just understand them, that's the only thing between whatever result I want. It's not just about happiness. It could be about money, your career. If you want to double your income, but really you're operating with an assumption that I'd like to double my income, but my real belief is I could probably get 2% more. That's your belief. So that's what's going to show up. You're not going to double your income with a real belief that's 2% is going to show up. So when we start studying these ideas, you can start to peel away the layers. Now I'm going to bring up some slides and just get into this in a little bit more detail. Let's get the slides up. And if you guys want to chat or question or ask questions in the chat or chat with each other, share your thoughts, then go for it. So I'm going to introduce you to this idea, which ultimately for me is one of the most powerful things you can know, because when you know it, you get so clear on what's stopping you from having the things, the life, the experiences, the emotional well-being that you want. It's the results you want. It's all to do with this thing called your self-image. So I love that you've probably seen these kinds of diagrams, these kinds of pictures on the internet, and you know, people send them around social media. But this idea of self-image, it was discovered by a guy called Maxwell Maltz, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and he was a plastic surgeon, and he learned that when he did plastic surgery, this was a big breakthrough in psychology by Maxwell Maltz, but he was a plastic surgeon, and he learned that, let's say like he improved somebody's physical appearance, right? So he did plastic surgery, something they didn't like about their appearance, he improved it, right? Remove something, you know, from make their nose smaller or bigger or whatever he did. And then when he studied the results, he realized that for some people, they had a massive psychological difference. And they were like, their psychology, their personality, the way they thought of themselves was improved as well. But for a big proportion, there was no psychological difference. So even though their physical appearance was different and improved and changed, they still didn't think of themselves differently. And that's when he come up with the idea and the discovery of self-image psychology. So we have two self-images. We have one that we see in the mirror, that's like the outer self-image, and we have an inner self-image. And this is, let me explain what it is. So every one of us, we have a mental blueprint, and that blueprint has in it a million details, labels about the type of person you are, the type of person you're not, what you're capable of, and what you're worth. That's it within it. That's the summary of what a self-image is, but in that is everything. It's got everything. It's kind of a description about who you are in relation to, the way you meet and greet people, whether you're a gregarious person, whether you're a shy person, whether you're an angry person, a miserable person, whether you believe you're capable of, reaching massive potential, or whether you don't have much confidence. Everything, all of you have set the kind of, that's why we started this session with settings. There you have a bunch of settings inside your mind about who you are and who you're not. And you might want to write this down. You can never outperform your self-image, and you will never go beyond where you believe you can go. So if you're setting in relation to the amount of money you think you can earn is set at 50,000 a year, to pick a figure out the year, then you'll never go much beyond that. Even if you say, well, I'd like to earn 500,000 or $1 million, you have a set of ideas about who you are as a person in relation to money, and that will keep you locked into that performance. And if you want to know where you're set, you kind of look at where you are, because your results don't lie. So your current results represent what your self-image believes is possible in like every area: money, health, relationships, weight. But the great thing about this is, you understand this. You think, well, what are the details that I've got kind of programmed in to my subconscious mind? What am I affirming? That's the other thing we do. We affirm things about ourselves all day long. Let me ask you a question. Think of the three things that you might want to write this down and think about it later, but think of the three things that you say out loud to other people about the type of person you are. It might be, I'm a confident person. I'm a shy person. I'm the person at parties who sits in the corner. I'm the person at parties who stands in the middle of the room and tells jokes. I'm the person who can grab a microphone and speak in front of 1,000 people. I'm the person who would rather die than do that. I'm the type of person who doesn't like exercise. I'm the type of person who thrives on exercise. It's, really, what are you affirming? Because anything you're saying about yourself to yourself, there's the inner voice, and then there's the thing you say to other people. You're affirming that, and then you are literally living out those beliefs. You're literally living out that self-image. There were studies done. Dr. Maxwell Maltz did studies, and one such study was he analysed high school students, and he looked at the report card, and he got a hold of a bunch of students who were like getting Fs. They were close to failing or failing, and he realised that they believed they were, poor performers in these subjects, and they continued to be poor performers because it showed up in their behaviour, it showed up in their confidence, it showed up in how much effort they put in. And then he did with these same students, he got them to start thinking of themselves as A and B type students, and change the way they thought of themselves. And he changed all their report. All of their grades changed like dramatically, like overnight. I might actually, if I can take a picture of that particular case study just to illustrate the point and post it for you from the book, then I will. So I think the key things for self-image are, you have a self-image and it controls every move you make. And if you want to improve something in your life, the most perfect thing about this is, if you do want to earn $1 million, it's about changing the ideas you have about who you are and getting them in harmony with the type of person who is earning $1 million. When it comes to your goal, if you've set a big goal in the past or you've set a big goal right now, a clue as to whether your self-image is going to work against you or for you. Look at your goal and say, what about that goal, if I look in the mirror, it doesn't feel like me? If it doesn't feel like you, it's a clue that there's a mismatch in how you really think of yourself. When I chose to switch careers completely, there was a lot about me doing this that was the opposite of what I was used to being. That was the opposite of what I saw in the mirror. And thankfully, I had access to the system that helped me change it, because if I hadn't, I don't think I'd have ever gone for it. But I had to get the idea of me. I had to start to see myself as the person doing this, but I had to see myself and believe it 2 years ago. But when I got my mind there first and I got my self-image in harmony with what I wanted, the jump to get there was easy. It was predictable and it was easy, but it didn't just come easy. I had to work at the inner game. I had to do the mindset work to do that. Let me demonstrate in a bit of a fun way how the self-image shows up as a control. Think of it as a control mechanism. So these ideas that you have about who you are, they have a tendency to keep you there. Think about it. You see people who, there's things that are not going well in their life, like I'm not very confident at presenting, and saying that over and over is going to get you more of the I'm not confident presenting. But they kind of defend it, and we defend our identity because there's a powerful, it feels comfortable. So even if being a presenter who lacks confidence and not really doing it very well doesn't feel good, it's not what you want, it's kind of how you see yourself. So it's kind of, we defend our identity because it's comfortable. So if you find yourself wanting something different but really retreating back, it's because it's kind of it's your inner being knows who you are and it feels comfortable there. When we try and expand and go beyond where we've ever been, it doesn't feel comfortable, so we get pulled back. And this is how it can show up in relation to weight loss, keeping you locked into your results. So let's say you are somebody who wants to release some weight, and we never say lose weight because the mind goes looking for what you lose. So you go on a diet. You say, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to eat less, and I'm going to exercise. And you start to lose the weight. And you start to see some progress. But what happens is the ideas that you have programmed in about who you really are, your self-image about you being the person on the left, the bigger person, that's almost your inner goal. It's your inner setting. And there's a mechanism called the cybernetic mechanism, which Maxwell Maltz explains in his study, in his book, that kicks in, and it says you've deviated from where you should be, and it course corrects you back to the internal setting, if you will, the internal setting. That's why we see many people, they make progress and then they go back. They make progress and then they go back. And it can be in relation to a number of things. So even if the goal on a conscious level is to release some weight, if you're still holding on to ideas like, I really love sweet food and I know I just drink too much and I'll never stick at the gym and I know I'll be on a diet. Why do you say I'm on a diet? Because you know it's a temporary thing, right? So there'll be ideas that if you don't deal with the root cause of the behavior, which is the ideas about who you really are, then you'll always go back to the setting. So you'll always find the weight. And this is where this shows up. So if you remember last week, we showed this this image where we've got frequencies of thought. So we have frequencies of thought, and your goal is on a different frequency from where you are right now, from your current results. And we said that your beliefs and thoughts and ideas are in harmony with your current results. Well, that's your self-image as well. So to use the money example again, if your goal is £1 million, but your self-image, because the most you've ever earned is 50,000, you're going to be locked in with a set of ideas, a self-image as the type of person who earns 50,000. So the trick is to get your self-image to the point of the frequency of your goal and get there first. A bit like me switching to this job, I got my frequency up here before I even got the goal. Because if I didn't get my frequency up there, I probably would have abandoned the goal long before I even moved forward with it. So this is the empowering thing. You can start to then think about the ideas inside of your thinking, the things that the labels that you've got for yourself, and you can start to change them. And when you change them, it automatically shows up in your results. You automatically get the improvements, the improvement in your results. So I'm just going to pause before we talk about how we do that. And I'm just going to see if there's any questions in the chat, and then we'll talk about how do we. So it's all nice information, great that we've got a self-image, great that we've got these beliefs. How do we change them? Bridge the gap. Yes, Lizzie. Perfect question. Okay, so if you think about how the ideas got there in the first place, right? Look, use the marbles again. So our self-image was built up like our paradigm. So in our early life, we experienced other people's opinions. We had our parents and our teachers speak. We were born in a certain household, in a certain country, in a certain culture, in a certain environment, which gave us all of these beliefs, thoughts, and ideas that we are literally now kind of acting out. Similarly with self-image. And we've continued as we've grown to lock into ideas about who we are. Because you have to ask yourself, if you say to me, I'm not confident in this situation, I'll say, when did you decide that? Seriously, when did you decide you weren't confident? Because at some point you've decided that. It's not just as something you either are or you're not. You've made that decision that that's a belief that you have about yourself. So if you think what we're doing then in changing any of this, changing beliefs, changing paradigm, there are only two ways to change a paradigm, which I think we've talked about. One is a direct emotional impact. So something shakes your world, it rocks your entire core, and you never look at the world the same again. That's why the person who wants to lose the weight suddenly loses all the weight. And you're like, what happened? They had a massive health scare. But they're usually negative. Those emotional impact paradigm changing events are usually negative, which we don't want. So the other way to change a paradigm is the same way it got there. Those ideas got there by what you heard over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout your life. So we take one or two ideas at a time and we start to affirm something new. And that's where this week's action comes in, which is affirmations. So what we're going to be doing is identifying a belief. So remember I talked about my beliefs when I was in the role I was in, doing something different. One belief that's limiting your progress, right? So you've got a goal and you know there's something that you believe to be true that isn't quite in harmony with that goal, that you know needs to be changed. And then in relation to the way you feel emotionally, what's a belief that's creating a negative feeling? Because I suggest that you should always have two affirmations, two things you're trying to uplift, no more, definitely no more. One to do with a goal and one to do with the way you feel. And that could be, to do with the way you feel. It could be to do with confidence, self-esteem, feeling calm. And the goal is something to do with the thing you want to achieve. And then you're going to construct a sentence, otherwise known as an affirmation, which implies the achievement of your goal. And then for the feeling, a sentence which implies the opposite feeling. And then your homework for this week and forevermore is to be reading it, writing it, and saying it out loud regularly throughout the day. Remember, these ideas, they got there by just being repeated over and over. And you can change them the exact same way. Now, I'm going to be I've got a page I'm going to post in the group, which has got some examples of affirmations to bring this to life. And I'll post, and we can definitely answer questions on this. And if you want to start to think about this and send it to me, I can give you my opinion, or you can Google what makes a good affirmation. You can get information on it. So we will, that's how you're going to go about replacing these ideas that are not in harmony with your goal or are not making you feel good. I'll give you a quick example, two quick examples, one for goals and one for feelings. So let's say you want a brand new home, and your goal might be, your affirmation about that goal might be, I'm so excited to be holding the keys to my brand new house, right? The idea is it's creating an image inside your mind that creates emotion that starts to reprogram the ideas about who you are and what's possible. Something around the feeling, this is common to a lot of people, right? We feel hurried and rushed and frantic and hamster wheel. I had an affirmation while I was doing all those things I described and leading a global integration that said, I'm so happy and grateful now that I move through my days feeling calm and confident. I'm so happy and grateful now I move through my days feeling calm and confident. When you say it, it sounds so simple and you're like, really? Can that really make a difference? Trust me, you won't believe this until you do it, as I'm suggesting, and you see and feel the difference in your own life. So that's how we go about starting to make these shifts. Now, there's lots we could go seriously deep into self-image and the process for changing self-image, and we will come back to it. And tomorrow I'm going to give you a little bit more, which is why I broke this into two, so that we could come back to it and go into a little bit more detail. But there's massive amounts more detail we could get into. But doing these two things right now is going to have a tremendous effect. And I'm just going to give you this quote to wrap up before we can have any discussion that we want to have. And it's Dr. Joe Dispenza, who you're probably familiar with. He's quite a prolific speaker on habits and mindset and meditation. And he says the process of change requires unlearning. Let me just mute somebody. I don't know. There we go. Yeah. The process of change requires unlearning. It requires breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing the new self. And that's really all we're talking about with this. It's really no more complex than understanding the habitual ideas that you have just been holding on to forever and starting to change them and replace them with new ones. It's about saying, it doesn't matter what was there before. I'm now excited because I know I've got the tools in the system to change my habitual way of thinking, the ideas that I've got locked in about what's possible for me. So for me, I'm hoping what you're seeing is, Jesus, the potential, because there's no limit. There's no limit. Your only limit is where you believe you can go. And that's built into your self-image and your paradigm. And once you start to take that lid off, you're really free to peel away any layer you want and set any goal you want for any part of your life. That's what this is about. Because every one of us, the only thing that makes us different is where we were born, who we listen to every day, the culture we were brought up in, and the ideas we've accepted as true ever since. That's the only difference, which really excites me, as you can tell. Okay, let me just get this sharing stopped and then we can see if there are any questions or comments before we close today, and we're going to regroup tomorrow. And I'll stop the recording now.